This week is about kind of a Switch 2 6-month report card. How did they do? The Switch 2 has been the story of the entire year. Remember in January when Genki leaked it at CES and it was like a perfect representation of what it was going to be. So then 7 days later, Nintendo did a teaser trailer where they showed the Switch 1 quite literally evolving into a Switch 2, along with a very, very brief Mario Kart tease that would go on to become Mario Kart World. We covered this live at 5 a.m. when they dropped this trailer. Jada, kind of what do you remember from the early days of the Switch 2's reveal?
Everybody, what's the C button do? What is this C button?
Yeah.
What is this mythical C button? What is it? And like everybody just trying to figure out what it was. And I don't think anybody pegged it as a game chat button.
Per Schneider did. He's the one. Yeah, as usual, he got it right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was kind of that was what the whole conversation was what's the C button? We got a new
also,
button.
they're like, it looks like there's an optical sensor. Are there mouse controls? That was the
that
other thing that everyone was.
Yeah,
which I was very skeptical.
This initial trailer, like it shows them like vigorously moving the control sticks, and everyone's like, Hall effect sticks. Nope, did not happen.
No.
They are still they are not Hall effect joysticks. But drift doesn't seem to be as big of a problem. It's still early in the generation, so maybe as more wear and tear, it'll crop up. But so far, it seems like a little bit better.
I will say I've been pretty much exclusively playing my Switch 2 with my Pro Controller, and god dang, that controller is still the best analog sticks, I think, on any controller ever for me personally.
It blows my mind how every part of the Switch 2 Pro Controller feels good and right and solid. Like now when I look at the original Pro Controller for Switch, my favorite controller until the Switch 2, and now I look at it and I'm like, gross. This thing is stupid and I hate it because the Pro Controller 2 is so much of an improvement. A little more pricey, which is a bummer, but look at that thing. Just feels so good.
I think the other conversation around this was their first, 7-8 seconds of Mario Kart. So that was the whole conversation was like, they're going into the desert. Is Mario Kart going to be open world? Like, oh, hey, that looks like there's like 24 or 32 racers. How many people are going to be racing at once? And I think that was the other kind of big talking point. It was the C button and Mario Kart.
Yeah, and then that was our first look at the new Donkey Kong. And there were stories about we finally got a new Donkey Kong design. He looks different. What's this going to mean? And what it meant was a huge year for Donkey Kong because the April Nintendo Direct on April 2nd with a premiere in New York City, hands-on events around the world. It revealed Donkey Kong Bonanza and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment and Kirby Air Riders and Game Chat and a ton of third-party games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Elden Ring, some of which have come out, some of which haven't yet. You were both here on NVC for that live morning. Seth, what do you remember from getting up early to watch the Switch 2 reveal?
I don't remember anything, but I also didn't get up that early. No,
that's true.
Just East Coast, let's go. I think the biggest difference between the Switch 1 reveal, and I wasn't working here yet, and the Switch 2 was that with the Switch 1, the entire time I was thinking, oh man, I really like this, but if nobody else does, this is probably it for Nintendo. And then with the Switch 2, the whole time I'm watching it and it's like, oh my God, they've done everything you like about the Switch, but it's better. And it's like the new Joy-Con, the design is just so much more perfect. It feels more complete because like I forget how wonderful it feels to just pop those out until I do it rarely. Like I was playing Kirby Air Riders with them and I was like, oh my God, that feels so much better than the jagged metal rails on the original Switch. But the one thing that I remember the most was when we were like in getting ready for things to go live and we all had the streams opened to like watch and looking down and be like, oh my God, this stream is in 4K. Like this is going to be a 4K system. Absolute mind blower. I probably 100 times said, no way they're going 4K for the next generation. I had to eat those words. And they did it. And is it as great of a 4K experience as a PlayStation 5 or Xbox? Probably not. But is it still wonderful and delightful? Does it make an extra visual dimension from the games that we really love, that we want for Nintendo anyway? Absolutely. 100%. So thrilled that they did 4K in spite of the fact that I just didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was possible.
I think the thing that we talked about quite a bit after this live stream was how much they focused on the camera in this
in
this
game
reveal.
chat,
Oh my god, yes.
There was so much of them utilizing the Switch 2 camera for like family play and showcasing. Like, didn't it have its own section during the direct of like going over the camera?
The opening section after Mario Kart, they showed off the console, they showed Mario Kart World, and then they talked about game chat for 7 minutes. And I remember being in the room in New York City watching with Brian, and we're both like, wow, this is going on a really long time right now.
Yeah, that was kind of insane, and I think they've just kind of doubled down on that over the last 8 months since they revealed it. And you know, I don't know how successful it's been. I don't think we've seen. I haven't paid attention to any numbers on cameras sales and such for that peripheral, but it was very interesting to say the least. And then the other big conversation I remember was pricing. Did we get pricing there, or were we waiting on pricing? I can't remember.
The direct ended extremely abruptly, and it seemed very obvious that they had cut pricing information out of it because of tariffs and that whole thing that started in the spring. And then pricing came out in a press release on the Business Wire minutes after. And yeah, that is when the big backlash started. They dropped the price. Mario Kart is $80. Mm-hmm. Switch 2 is going to be $500 with Mario Kart. There's going to be game key cards that don't have the game on the cartridge. There's these Switch 2 editions. Some are free, some are 10, some are 20. It was information overload, and it kind of sent the Nintendo world spinning for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
the
chat.
Go ahead, Seth.
I would say the chat went from Silk Song to lower the price, lower the price,
drop
lower the price.
Drop the price, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that was a great campaign. It worked effectively to make the fastest selling consumer video game console in the history of the world. Like, almost as if Nintendo knew what they were doing with the price.
Yeah, and I think that it's too early to get into 2026 predictions. I think the price is going up next year. I think that they are doing everything to hold firm where they are right now, but I think it's going to rise in 2026, which is not great, but I think it is a reality. It's whatever is happening to everything, and Nintendo has kind of, if you read between the lines, they've said, we're going to keep it here through this fiscal year, and they have committed to nothing beyond that. So they want to jumpstart this install base, which they have done. 10.3 million in the first couple of quarters of this thing is remarkable. So it's off to a fantastic start, but it was hot, at least in the upper echelon of people who follow Nintendo. It was very, very spicy there for a while. And in hindsight, when I look back on it, I think the big one is Mario Kart. I think that nobody would have had melted down nearly as much. They would not have gotten nearly as much flack if Mario Kart was 70, not 80. I think that I don't think it should have been 80. I don't think they justified it being 80. I think it was 80 to push people to the bundle where the discounted version was 50. And I think that's it. I think that's why Mario Kart was $80. I don't think you see another $80 Nintendo game this generation apart from special editions, DLC bundles. I think they're going to be 70 for the time being.
Yeah. I also think adding Mario Kart, like you said, it was definitely an afterthought. I remember when we were all at IGN Live and you were doing the Mario Kart review, behind the scenes at IGN Live, like Logan was just playing Mario Kart nonstop in the press room that we had set up. But I was talking to Sam Claiborne, and he was pointed out that it's on some of the boxes it's a sticker, and then on the later ones it came out like printed on the box. So it seems like they were like, oh crap, people are really mad, let's slap this sticker on there and throw slip some codes in to get it through. But I don't think that was the original intent with the Switch 2 to have a packet, and I'm glad that it does. And then actually over the last week, Walmart, Amazon, every place has had that bundle for $449, and it is going to definitely bolster their next report numbers, because that was an enormously popular deal. Like, yeah.
I think that I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but 80% plus of Switch 2 sold have been that Mario Kart bundle, at least for a window. That was the case. So I think that's why they had the sticker ones, is pre-order numbers were so overwhelming for the bundle that they made more of them. I think it was always the plan to have the two, but it's like, whoa, nobody's buying the one without Mario Kart. So we'll convert some of the base ones into that bundle that is selling out.
Yeah.
And then launch came. Seth just mentioned it, June 5th of this year. We were all in LA. We were all in line together. Seth went and got some Mountain Dew and some Doritos when we were in line at a Best Buy in West Hollywood. We got the Switch 2. We unboxed it in Jada's hotel room. We played a bunch of Mario Kart World. Jada, what do you remember from launch?
I remember us not being able to turn the volume down on the hotel TV.
Yeah.
The game was so loud. It was like, it's like, hey, we're going to play games late at night, but we can't let my parents know, otherwise they'll come and take away the game. And it just turns on. It's the loudest sound. And you're like freaking out. Like, did they hear? Did they hear? And we couldn't, the TV literally would not let us change the volume with the remote for the input when we had the Switch plugged in. So Logan had to set up game chat on the fly. Luckily, he had one friend who had also installed game chat that night and called them. He texted this friend and was like, hey, don't answer. I don't need you in the game chat. We just need to test to see if we can mess with it. And it worked. We were able to, we started a game chat call with nobody but us in it. And we were able to adjust the volume of the game on the console itself through game chat. And it was insane. And then just great night of Mario Kart. A lot of back and forth between me and Logan, which I'm sure it wouldn't be the case nowadays, but it was some good matches that first night.
Yeah, super fun. And I actually use game chat a lot still. I'm a pretty heavy user of game chat when I play Kirby Air Riders or Mario Kart World with family or friends on Switch. So I do use it a lot, but I do want the numbers of how many people are using this. Nintendo hasn't reported. I want to know how many people have set up game chat and registered, because you have to log in your phone number and approve friends. There is a step-by-step process to get this going. And I want to know how popular the feature is.
Yeah.
But launch was super fun. Being at IGN Live and playing and hosting our live show and playing against fans was a blast. Like, it was a really good launch game.
Yeah, and doing the midnight launch was 9 p.m. for out in the West. But like, just that Best Buy experience, I'd never done a midnight launch. It's like the biggest console. The line was so long and everyone was just so happy. It was, which is crazy because it's Los Angeles, so everyone's just miserable and mean. There's actually a lady who I got in a yelling match with because she told me I was being too loud.
Yeah,
but she was not going. She was just standing in line to go to Target, so that was on her. And then like people inside, they recognize like Max and Brian. They're like, "Oh my god, IGN!" There's a guy at Best Buy just like Luigi. And then Logan and I did not pre-order mine from this Best Buy, but Logan and I get there and they're like, "Oh, we don't have. What are you talking about, sir? We don't have your Switch 2."
Yeah, that was
like, Logan, you're one of the coolest people under pressure I think I've ever seen. But you're just like, no, that can't be right. And they went ahead and they found it for you. And then like, yeah, hell yeah. Everyone was just so like cool there and happy and smiling. And it was so fun. And it just felt like a social gaming experience in the real world that we just don't have anymore. And I feel like we need way more of that. It was just delightful.
I wish Altano was here so that he could reminisce about me getting to pie him in the face and just full, like 75% of his head just covered with pie. It was great.
Yeah, that was maybe a little bit unfair of a conceit for that live show. Yeah, because we played Mario Kart World live on stage. I had been reviewing it for 20 hours at that point. You guys hadn't touched it because it was the busiest weekend of the year. So that one turned out how we thought.
Speaking of Logan, you and I, we set up to be roommates so we could just play Mario Kart, and then ended up both being so collectively busy that we didn't play Mario Kart one time together, except for backstage for a minute and then on stage. Oh, there we are. Look at us. Yes. Oh, look at Alan. He was having too much fun.
Yeah. Brian's talking crap about us. Yeah. It was, I'm looking at I have my Nintendo Store app up right now that they launched where you can track your play activity. And that weekend, I played Mario Kart World for 2.5 hours the night that it came out. Then I played it for 8 hours and 15 minutes the next day and 10 hours and 20 minutes the next day. And that's only on my Switch, not even on all the ones around IGN Live.
Yeah.
So that was because we didn't get early access to it. So I had to fly out to New York for a preview event to play it for like 8 hours in New York that day, like a week before launch, fly to LA, pick it up there. It was crazy busy for them to launch a console amid this summer Game Fest season for Games Press, who's very busy with everything else. And I remember like going to the hotel bar that everybody meets at these events, and I just had my Switch 2, and people were like joining with the split Joy-Con and playing me in a race of Mario Kart. Like it was a very, very memorable console launch experience.
It was so awesome. Yeah,
super cool.
If you're like a gamer, that's sort of the thing you just like dream about, like having a situation like that in a scenario where it's like a perfect storm of just celebrating video games. And yeah, it was so awesome. 10/10.
And then 6 months have passed. In that time, we've gotten Donkey Kong and a bunch of other games, Hyrule Warriors, Kirby Air Riders, Metroid Prime 4. And we're not really talking about the games, just kind of the console as a whole. How are you feeling about it 6 months later, Jada?
I think I like my Switch 2 more than I like my Switch 1. Like, hands down, it's a better console in every way, shape, and form, but it also has pulled me back into the Nintendo fold even stronger than the Switch did. I played a lot of Switch, but in this first 6 months, I was just looking at my like hours for games I've played, and I've played more on my Switch 2 for a few of these games than I played for some years of my Switch 1 lifespan, especially in the back half of that like Switch 1 lifespan. Like I was looking at, I have 150 hours in Pokemon. I have 70 hours in Hyrule Warriors, 60 hours in Donkey Kong, like just so many hours in just the few games that we've gotten this year. And obviously, yes, it's a launch console, launch year, so wanting to get the most out of this launch of these games. But also, I've just kind of felt myself wanting to play my Switch more because I'm enjoying the experience on my Switch 2 more so than I was on my Switch 1. I think the 4K and the better performance for sure definitely helped, but I also think the higher graphical fidelity has kind of helped put off my graphic snobness that I've recognize that I kind of grew into over the last 5 or 6 years with my PS5, and before that with all my PC gaming, trying to everything look as pretty as possible. But I'm digging my Switch 2. I really like it. It's my travel console. I took it with me to our friend's house for Thanksgiving to play, and then once again also give to my nephew to play Pokemon as well. So like it's been a great experience. I absolutely adore my Switch 2. I talked about how much I love the Switch Pro controller. I think it's just fantastic, and yeah, great console.
How about you, Seth?
Yeah, this is the 3DS to the original DS in that like the DS had such an incredible library, but the fact that you could just play all those games on your 3DS, no one ever talks about DS. No one ever thinks like nostalgically. You think nostalgically for the 3DS era because you could just play all those games. I do think that the Switch 2 will be a bigger success than the 3DS was in comparison to its predecessor, but I mean, this is absolutely in every possible way the best console that Nintendo has put out and could have put out for this price point. This is the most Nintendo-ass console I think maybe ever made. The improvements of the hardware, like I was talking about earlier, just how much better the Joy-Con are, how much nicer they fit, how much more satisfying it is to just pop them off, have them suck in there with a little bit of a magnetism. The screen, I know that everybody was like really upset that it wasn't going to be an OLED screen, which I'm sure is like next year's plan. But I was playing Kirby Air Riders on it before I actually played it on my TV, and I thought it looked amazing. Actually, I think this is, as far as just a regular LCD screen is concerned, like this is a very, very nice screen on it. It's bigger. It feels more solid. There's not that like kind of creakiness when you're holding it that was on the original Switch. I love my Switch. I play it as much or more than I play my PC just because it is such a delightful little creature living there in my living room, letting me play, Donkey Kong, letting me play all the Switch games. I've got upgraded both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I'm sure I'm going to be restarting those. Like I said earlier, Skyrim just got a Switch 2 update, and I've probably collectively put 1,000 hours into Skyrim over the years, but I'll probably do it again on Switch 2 just because. Oh, and the mouse controls, not great. But
yeah,
I wish they would just like Nintendo would release a dedicated wireless mouse. But that being said, like games like Civ 4 are not Civ 4, that's Civ 7. Thank you. Are they're obviously PC mouse games, and it makes them so much better when you play it on Switch 2 with the mouse control. Otherwise, it's not really that great of an experience. But I love that it's there. It's not used that much, which is a bummer. And we got drag and drive, baby.
I don't know, man. Logan got a lot of use out of the mouse controls with the drag and drive. He's the big believer behind drag and drive.
Permanent grooves in my desk. Played 10 hours of drag and drive and actually didn't hate it. Yeah. No, I agree. I think the Switch 2 is fantastic. I love the console. It is such a great improvement. It is safe in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's bad to follow up the best-selling Nintendo console of all time with a safe sequel. We saw what happened when they haven't done that before with something like a Wii U that really didn't work out. So naming it Switch 2, safe, a lot of the improvements, safe but ambitious for Nintendo, and it turned out really, really well. And yeah, there was some drama in the margins about pricing and messaging and some other bizarre things and stumbles that happened this year. But overall, it has been a fantastic launch window for Nintendo Switch 2. And we're only 6 months in. And the volume of games we've gotten is pretty huge at this point.
Yeah.
Like we like to compare it to the Switch ones. First year of Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey didn't make it out in the first 6 months of Switch 1. It wasn't there yet. So if you're putting a hard cap on comparing 6 months head to head, Switch 2 might take it. When you had Breath of the Wild on Switch 1. You also have Breath of the Wild on Switch 2, but it doesn't really count as a Switch 2 edition. So it's been very, very strong. I'm excited to talk more about the actual games next week. But it's been a great success and a lot of anxiety, I think, from Nintendo about transitioning its player base to Switch 2. And they are off to a fantastic start in doing that.
Yeah. I mean, they stuck the landing so hard with the Switch 2. I always felt like the Switch 1 was sort of it was a make it or break it thing. And I feel like that did come through a little bit in some of the design choices that they, especially just with the Joy-Con not being great. And I keep going back to the rails, but I hate the rails. And this just feels like, okay, we have room to breathe. Let's think about this a little bit more. And it's a better, more refined product that hits a lot of market segments. You know, everybody has a 4K TV now. So this kind of had to be 4K and they did it. And it doesn't cost $800 or $900 like the Steam machine that's coming out. That's going to be like $1,000 for the smallest version. And it's going to have 4K graphics. Whereas this one's a $500 handheld 4K machine that is absolutely wonderful. And it is, I'm really excited for the life of the Switch 2 because it is so early on now. Like they haven't figured out the optimizations and the best ways to make, the graphics really pop and to make things go great. And in 2 or 3 years, we're probably going to see some of the best video games ever made. Not just like the best Nintendo. I think we're going to see, I don't know if that's the next Zelda, if that's the next Mario, but we're definitely going to see one of the best video games, if not several of the best video games that have ever been created coming to Switch 2.
Yeah. It'll be great. Excited to see what they have in store for next year. Yeah. A lot happened that wasn't games this year. Nintendo just continued to push to being more of just an entertainment company globally rather than predominantly a video game company. They opened a theme park in Orlando that Brian went to and interviewed Shigeru Miyamoto. They opened a store in San Francisco where I talked to Doug Bowser. They launched a new My Mario Kids line of merchandise for like toddlers and infants, like these wood block toys that are also amiibo that are only in Japan. They're not over here yet. But that's a thing they did. Mm-hmm. They dropped a Mario Galaxy movie trailer. They announced actors who are Link and Zelda for the Legend of Zelda movie, and filming is going on that right now. They debuted that weird Pikmin short in the Nintendo Today app, which was also launched this year. This big new way to kind of increase their walled garden of information and say, you have to come directly to us on your smartphone app to get the news, which is a fascinating change for them. They're really leaning in too hard right now. We saw a Mario balloon in the Thanksgiving parade in New York City. They have a jersey patch on the Seattle Mariners jersey, which is still crazy to me. So Seth, they've just done so much else this year outside of games.
Yeah, Nintendo is a full-fledged entertainment powerhouse now. They're just doing things so smartly from a business side of things. I have to wonder, like, how much of this is Doug Bowser, or like, where does this? It's not sudden, but it definitely feels so much more thought out than things were back in anytime actually before this. I mean, when the Mario movie came out, when the Super Mario World opened up, it's like, and they started to branch out and they did it so well and so right. And those things paid off hugely. And it just, I don't know, man. Can I invest in Nintendo as a foreign company? Is that allowed? Can I put money on Nintendo? Because they are, I don't think they'll ever be like the Walt Disney, but like, look, Disney's kind of in decline and Nintendo is on, nobody's sick of Nintendo yet.
I think Nintendo overtakes Disney in like a decade.
I don't know about that.
I think
depends what you're defining as Disney, because they own like ESPN and like insane stuff.
They're losing UFC, a huge blow.
I would say that, Seth, to your point about like things before not being as thought out, I disagree. I think Nintendo's always been really, really well thought out about it, but it definitely feels like during Bowser's tenure with Nintendo, it definitely felt like it was more expedited. Like they were like, hey, we need to do more of this and we need to do it now, or we need to do it sooner and start laying the inroads so we can do this in the next 4 or 5 years. I think that was kind of, I was never in any of his business meetings, obviously. I've spoken with him in very short bits here and there, but I feel that's kind of the direction Nintendo as a whole has kind of gone over this last generation, this last 7 years of Switch 1 to Switch 2's launch year. I think they've just really like, we have this power, we have the market there, we can expand it because we have so much buy-in from our fan base, and they've done it, and I think they've done a great job about it this year.
100, yeah. Where was Doug Bowser before he came on?
He was at EA.
He was at EA, okay.
Nintendo, and has been at Nintendo for many more years than he's been president. I think he's been at Nintendo since 2015, president since 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me wonder if his primary role as the president of Nintendo America was to sort of build these relationships with like Illumination and and Universal Studios to get, because in the United States is the biggest market for Nintendo by a lot, and that's mostly because we have 3 times the population of Japan. But I'm just interested to know like what his hands were directly involved with. I mean, he's the CEO, so he has to take responsibility for everything good and bad. So, or not CEO, excuse me, the president of Nintendo America. But yeah, I mean,
he's also the COO. So.
Oh
yeah, and he's only here for 22 more days, and we are transitioning to Devin Pritchard starting in January, which should be interesting. I think all this stuff has been in motion at NCL in Japan as well for many, many years. I think back to 2015, 2016, and these things were all announced then. Nintendo is going to make a theme park with Universal. Nintendo's talking to Illumination about making movies. The headlines just didn't pop off as huge because this was the Wii U era and nobody was really paying much attention to what they were doing. They've been laying this groundwork for a very long time. Yep. And I think something that just will make Nintendo stand out in 10, 15 years when we're 5 Mario movies deep and a Zelda trilogy is complete and there's all this other stuff, and Nintendo has a movie in theaters every single year and they have theme parks around the globe and they make video games, is that the quality of all this stuff is going to be extremely high across the board. Where you look at Disney, there's good Disney games for sure. But Nintendo will always predominantly be a video game company first and foremost, no matter how much they expand out into entertainment. So when a kid goes and sees a Mario movie and then they get to buy a Mario game, that's going to be an amazing game that's way better than all the licensed games like we grew up playing. And I just think that's coming at from that angle first, but being this mainstream global company, they're positioned in a place where really nobody else is. Because PlayStation has some movies, but it's not the same. It's not the same as Mario. They don't have the same appeal as those characters. So I just think they're positioned to be successful forever because of this push into entertainment.
When we get when they open their first Splatoon laser tag arena, Logan and me are going to be there. Like,
I'll be there.
I mean, it's the great thing about diversifying like this is that the success of the movies can help Nintendo through like lean times. I don't think there's going to be another Wii U era, but if were that to happen, there's no danger that Nintendo's just going to go away because they still have, the theme parks and the movies and the IP that they're using in an entertaining way that can help probably get them through any lean times in the video games. You know, next year, who knows? When the price of the Wii U, when the price of the Switch 2 maybe goes up, the entertainment side is going to pick up the slack for that. And yeah, like you said, I think Nintendo's here forever. I like that.
And I think Nintendo is probably one of the best, if not the best, in the industry for creating new mascots and things that stick around and that are applicable to most ages. You know, you look at their most recent big success, which is Splatoon, that has stuck around, and that has grown a massive fan base in 10 years, Logan?
10 years, yeah. This year it turned 10.
So, you know, you look at that, there's other companies are trying to create these new franchises and these other characters that kind of stand out, and they just aren't sticking the landing, and they're, you know, having to go back to what they're known for, which is great, but also, you know, we like to see new stuff. We like to see new popular things pop up. Like, obviously not everything Nintendo has made has hit. ARMS came out and was cool, but definitely did not have the staying power of Splatoon and other stuff that they've released. So.
Yeah, I think it's time for the next one. I've been feeling that. I want Switch 2 to be home to the next big, fresh, original Nintendo series that joins the lineup of mascots. Maybe that's Donkey Kong. Maybe that's it. This is a series, it's been around, but not to this extent before. Maybe the approach this time was, you know, juicing an existing one up to that level rather than creating a new one from scratch. But still, I think Splatoon was such a revelation for Nintendo. I would love to see something new join that isn't ARMS. It certainly wasn't Drag and Drive. They got to do something that's new and has personality that is in line with their all-time personalities.
If we get one new mascot this generation that is Splatoon level good, I will be happy. And if they spend the rest of the generation revitalizing their past franchises that have fallen out of the top slot, talking Kid Icarus, Star Fox, Ice Climber, Punch Out, any of that. If they take this generation to like make those games, revolutionize those games like they did with Donkey Kong and make it big like they did with Bonanza, I will be over the moon happy with the Switch 2 era.
Yeah, me too. Well, next week we will talk all about the games. We will crown the best Nintendo game of 2025, shout out our personal favorite first-party games and third-party games. So that should be a lot of fun. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching this clip from Nintendo Voice Chat. Be sure to catch the full episode over at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of NVC drop every Friday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. With the Nintendo Switch 2 finally here, there is so much to dive into. We appreciate you tuning in, and don't forget, NVC is the only place you can get the thing.